Hello, my name is Luke and welcome to Scapegoat, the podcast where we decide who gets the blame and who gets away with murder, sometimes literally. This week we're going to talk about a story that you probably remember from your own childhood. The carrots help you see in the dark. This podcast will examine if this is based on fact or is an old wives' tale to trick children into eating vegetables. Where does the story originate from and who are the people who spread this story? To understand this, we have to look at the historical context. Historically, the first mention of carrots comes from Afghanistan about 3,000 years ago. These carrots wouldn't look very similar to the ones you'd see in stores today. Indeed, they were white or purple and were a rather thin shape with different jagged edges to them. They had an insane bitter taste, and this core of the plant, or the center of the carrot, had a very wooden taste to it. These prototype carrots spread from Afghanistan across Asia and into Europe. When they arrived in Europe, people didn't really know what to do with them. A lot of people started using them as a form of medicine. Other people started to use them as an aphrodisiac. But most people completely avoided them because carrots resembled hemlock. And hemlock was an extremely poisonous plant, so it looked just like a white carrot. So people, not wanting to risk being killed, tended to avoid carrots. This started to change around 1500, when two new species of carrot began to emerge. The red carrot and the yellow carrot, and both being a lot less bitter than previous iterations. With these two new forms of carrots started to become a lot more popular. Also at this time, people started to move off into different countries. For instance, British people started to colonize the United States and Canada. Brazil was done by Portugal. These European countries started to move these carrots to those. So carrots started to become a worldwide crop. But it didn't really become really popular worldwide until someone decided to mix yellow carrots and red carrots together and come up with a hybrid, the orange carrot, which is probably what you recognize today. Now, by making the orange carrot, they actually designed it to be a lot sweeter than previous carrots, and it removed almost all of the bitterness and the woody taste. So because these tasted quite good, they became immediately popular. They also had the nice side effect that they were extremely rich in carotene, unlike previous carrots, and carotene is what causes vitamin A. Now, people were pumped for the used carrots, especially the Netherlands, because their association of the color orange. The Netherlands have, for instance, the House of Orange is the royal family, and their national color is orange, so when they saw these orange carrots, they were really stoked, and they started painting them into all their pictures and being like, yes, we love carrots. The Dutch started to spread these orange carrots, and because they tasted nicer, other people started to enjoy the orange carrots, so the orange carrots pretty much cornered the market within about a century. Carrots became more and more popular, so they were a staple dish throughout the 18th and 19th century, but their popularity started to wane just a little bit at the start of the 20th century because people all around the world liked the importation of new and wonderful vegetables from all around the world. So the carrot was waning a little bit. When the carrot really came into its own was in 1939. So in 1939, Britain declared war on Germany after Germany invaded Poland. Once Britain declared war on Germany, a lot of the trade routes Britain had used to get foods were off the table because the German U-boats or the German Navy would pretty much blow up any merchant vessel. Britain was facing a problem because at the start of the war, 70% of the UK's food was imported. So there was a major chance of starvation. The UK Minister of Agriculture ran a campaign to promote farmers to grow more carrots and potatoes, as carrots and potatoes could grow in easy abundance and provide a lot of nutrients. They also had a campaign called Dig for Victory, where they encouraged the normal British people to plant vegetables in their own garden. These campaigns worked extremely well, and over the next year, there was a huge surplus of carrots. But there was also the problem that people, because they were used to finer foods, didn't really want to start eating a bunch of carrots. To keep morale up, the government started to connect carrots to the war effort. In Britain at the time, there was a lot of blackouts throughout the country. So at night, they turned out all the lights in town and they boarded up windows in houses so light wouldn't get out. So the German planes, the Luftwaffe, couldn't see British villages or towns from the air and bomb them. This led to the problem that anyone out after about 8 o'clock in the evening was in pitch black, and if the air raid siren went off, you would have to try and get to an air raid bunker in pitch darkness. So if you lit a candle, you'd be risking your own life. So what the British government said was, carrots help you see in the dark. And they advertised this heavily, and a lot of British people responded well, because they said, look, we're stumbling around in the dark here. We need a superfood which will help us see. And the government said carrots, and the British said, dead on, we'll get carrots, we'll eat them now. By eating these carrots, the British government was using up their surplus of food. Plus, it was also boosting morale around the country, because a lot of people believed carrots genuinely were making them see better. And a lot of people started saying their lives are being saved because they're eating these carrots and they could avoid bad things happening. Simultaneously, the British war effort had developed radar. They had actually developed radar in the 1930s, but radar that went into planes to fight the Germans was a new innovation. Due to this innovation, they were beating the Luftwaffe over the Battle of Britain. The British war effort was terrified that the Germans would learn about their radar. And if they learned about their radar, they might try and blow it up or find a way to deflect it. And Britain was terrified if the Germans learn about radar, they might be able to beat us. The government came up with the ingenious plan of when the Minister of Agriculture started saying, hey, carrots help you see in the dark. The Air Force were like, yes, we feed carotene carrots all to our pilots, and that's what helps them see and beat the Germans. So they announced this as a kind of deflection to stop the Germans believing in radar and said, no, it's our carrots. It's the carrots which are making them beat you, and hope the Germans would go around a wild goose chase and start investing all their money in carrots rather than in military infrastructure. Historians aren't really sure if this campaign really worked, because many people say the Germans just shot down a British plane in late 1941 which had radar, and they pretty much realized, they've got radar, but it spread throughout the consciousness that eating carrots helps you A, be a fighter pilot, and B, look in the dark. So this is where the rumor came from. Now, we're going to look at the science. Do carrots help you see in the dark? Well, first, carrots do help you see under certain conditions, because carrots can improve eyesight because they have a lot of beta-carotene, which we've mentioned before, which is used to make vitamin A. Now, vitamin A is really important, and it can help develop eyes in children, and it can also, if your eyes are hurt or injured or they have too little nutrients, it can also help repair your eyes. However, if you've got a good pair of eyes already, vitamin A doesn't make them better. It's not like if you keep having vitamin A, you'll see further. If your eyes are at kind of maximum potential, vitamin A won't do anything. Vitamin A does help, but it's normally people with poor eyes, and it doesn't do much for helping people see in the dark, as in it doesn't help at all. It doesn't help people see in the dark, but carrots might actually help you see a little. So that's what the science says. Okay, guys, thanks very much for listening to this. So just as a brief summary, I was asked to summarize at the end of these things. Carrots helped fool the Nazis, and that's why we got the idea that carrots help you see in the dark, but they don't really. Now, you might notice this episode's a lot shorter than the normal episodes that we'd produce. This is because I've got a lot of work on at the minute, and I meant to release a podcast last week and it didn't come out, so I felt it was 2 weeks since the last podcast episode came out. I needed to release something. I am still working on the Yoko Ono episode I promised, and I'm also recording a second short one today. So if work envelops me over the next few days again, I'll release that. At least we have content coming out to help you guys. Tell me if you enjoyed this short episode. You can contact me at scapegoatpod on Twitter, or at scapegoatpodcast@gmail.com, or find us on Facebook. These are just all the ways you have to find us. Thanks very much for listening. Any feedback would be nice, and keep munching on those carrots if you like them, but don't rely on them to see in the dark. Okay, bye guys. Bye-bye.
Well, guess what? Carrots wrote the Constitution, and the theory of evolution. We prevent electrocution, believe that love is the solution. We fought in the French Revolution, escaped a mental institution. Now let's pass a resolution and proclaim with elocution. Let's hear some noise pollution, shout there is no substitution. For the carrots.